Okay guys, this is John Speed from johnspeedbooks.com. Since the last video, I decided to go out and invest in a tripod because I watched my own video on YouTube and I put it on our television screen, and there was so much motion that I felt myself literally become motion sick. It's like I was car sick watching this crazy video. And I thought, man, there's nobody that's going to watch this channel if they're going to watch it and they're going to get sick watching it. And so I'm extremely cheap, but I went out and I got a decent $25 tripod, and this thing I've used it with other video so far, and I love it. And I hope that you appreciate the fact that I'm not going to make you ill watching my videos. And so today we went out to the antique mall, and I did some poking around, and I found some stuff. I don't want to go into detail on everything, but I do want to show you some things that I think are pretty interesting that we picked up. The first thing I want to show you is this stationery from the Glasgow and Highland Royal Mail steamers. This is unused. This is a piece of beautiful color lithograph stationery that is unused. And on the other side, there's the original envelope. You can see that the envelope is foxed. This is caused by moisture. Either got a little bit, it was probably in a humid area. You know, Scotland is humid. And if you've ever been there, you know it just rains all the time. But this I picked up for $3. I figure it's probably worth about 30 bucks. This I just picked up for my stamp collection. This stamp here isn't often seen on mail. It's not worth a lot of money. I paid $1/4 for it. It's probably worth $1. Not a big deal. This thing is pretty cool. It's an advertising card for a hatter in New York City on Fulton Street. Hall the Hatter, manufacturer, importer of gentlemen's fine dress silk and soft hats. Also umbrellas and walking canes. And so it's in pretty nice shape. There's a notation on the back. But it's pretty nice. And so I'm glad to get that. This thing I picked up for $1/4. It's an advertising cover, an advertising envelope from, I guess, the 1920s or 1930s or so, judging from the stamp. It's advertising on the cover, a nice color cachet that's advertising, what is that? Pepperell Mill sheets. These are sheets for beds. And this E.K. Winchenbach or Winkenbach from Thomaston, Maine, a dry and fancy goods store. He wanted his customers to know. He wanted everyone to know. He wanted the Rockland Building Source or whatever that, or Building and Loan, to know that they were selling sheets, these Pepperell Mill sheets. And I picked this up for $1/4, and it's probably worth about like somewhere between $5 and $10. A couple of other things here. This I got for myself. It's not really for resale, although I might sell it later. Albrecht Durer. He was a great engraver and artist from the time of the Reformation. He knew Martin Luther, and I believe he painted Martin Luther's picture. So great artist here. 1950, first American edition. I paid $10 for it in the store, and I figure it's probably worth about 30. So I didn't really buy it for resale. I bought it for my library. I really like the Reformation artists. I like Durer. My other next favorite artist after that is Vermeer. Vermeer. He didn't do very many paintings. Durer did a lot of paintings, a lot of great engravings. If you've ever seen the praying hands engraving, that's Albrecht Durer. Trying to think what else he did that you might know, but the praying hands everybody knows. And Durer was just brilliant. He did some stuff on the Apocalypse, on the Book of Revelation, that is sort of well known. He was doing engravings in the late 1400s and early 1500s. And so this is a beautiful book. It's loaded with information, obviously, but it's loaded with beautiful plates. You know, his artwork. There's an engraving. I don't know if I can get that the way that I want to. There we go. That is a landscape detail from St. John receives the summons to heaven. And we'll zoom a little bit in. It's gorgeous work. His engravings are gorgeous. I believe they're woodcuts. You see his signature there, AD. I've never had an original engraving by Durer. I would love to have one. This is from 1498. So, yeah, he's inspiring. Vermeer is inspiring. Inspiring because those guys were Christian men, and they really cared. There's my Sonic drink over there. Sonic's not getting any free endorsements here. All right, coin collecting. I'm into coin collecting a little bit. Not much. I mean, I don't have any money, so I don't spend like big money on coins or anything like that. I just go through our pocket change and I pull stuff out and I find some interesting stuff now and then. You can find some interesting errors in your pocket change. Sometimes those errors on like a penny can be worth quite a bit of money if the penny's in nice condition. And so I play around with that a little bit. In the process of playing around with that, I learned that the red book, nowadays you have the red book. 2021, the red book is out. You can figure out what coins are worth when you look at the red book. Before there was the red book, there was the blue book. The first red book came out in 1947. If you found a really fine copy of a 1947 red book, that would sell for $1,500. If you found it in very good condition, it would be worth about $275 according to the 2021 red book. However, this is a blue book, and this one came out in 1945, just 2 years before the red book. It's not worth as much as the red book, but it's still collectible. It's not in great condition. You can see right here somebody was fooling around with a piece of chalk on the cover. I'm just going to use some Goo Gone on that, and a light application will take that right off. However, the gilt lettering that was originally stamped on the front cover, that's very, very faint. It's flaked, almost completely flaked away. When you open the book, the front hinge is cracked at the bottom and at the top. There's yellowing down in there, and that's probably from poor quality binding glue down there in the gutter. The back is yellowed in the hinge as well, but it's not cracked. The corners are bumped and rubbed, but not rubbed through. There is some foxing to the end matter and also to the prelims. There's foxing to the foredge, there's foxing to the top edge. It's not in great condition. It's only in what I would call good condition. But even though it's only in good condition, the text is pretty decent. And coin collectors just like to look at this stuff just to compare what are really rare coins and how little they used to have to pay for them back then. It's just kind of fun to look at that and see how coins have advanced in their worth and their value over the years. So here you've got this book. It's 1945. I'll show you the title page real quick. I paid $2 for it in the antique mall. $2. Handbook of United States Coins. The author R.S. Ullman, he's still listed as the author on the red book, even though I doubt he's still alive. 1945. This book is worth $50. I paid $2 for it. That's a pretty good find. Anytime you can do 25 times better once you paid, that's good. Not as good as this. That might not look like much, but it's a book from 1842. The book is called, hold on a minute, Ribs and Trucks from Davy's Locker, being magazine matter broke loose and fragments of sundry things inedited by W.A.G. That's a pseudonym. It was printed in Boston by Charles D. Strong, published by him in 1842. Now, Davy's Locker should tell you something. That should tell you that this is something about sailing. Davy Jones' Locker. That's what I thought when I looked at the title page. When I went to the table of contents, the very first chapter, I don't know if you can see it there, but the very first chapter is a chapter on whaling. So we're talking about 1840s. We're talking about New England, Boston, Massachusetts. Now we're talking about whaling. So what do I think about when I think about New England in the 1840s, and I'm thinking about whaling? Immediately my mind goes to Herman Melville, and it goes to Moby Dick. And so I'm thinking to myself, well, whaling is always good. Whaling is the kind of thing that you can usually sell a book and make some money on it. This book is only $6. Maybe this is worth picking up. That's what I'm thinking. So then I go to the chapter on whaling and I start reading it. And I read it in this kind of voice in my brain. All right? Whaling. And what, oh what, cries the reader, thrice critical and captious personage, can there be in connection with whaling? The bare mention of which leaves not a palpable grease spot on the hitherto unsullied pages of MAGA. MAGA is not Make America Great Again, by the way. It's a New England magazine. We are not in the oil line and take comparatively little interest in the light engendering speculations of our neighbors of the treeless isle. So prithee, spare thy spermaceti statistics, placid reader. If such be your ejaculation, permit me to say, you are unwarrantably raw to the romance of the subject. 'Tis high time you are aware that few voyages, at least, can boast of greater attractions than a whaling cruise offers to the nautical lounger, the novelty hunter, the devotee of exciting sports, the anything or anybody, in short, in any manner, wedded to the imperial sea. Let's see if I can do this. I might not be able to do it in camera. 'Tis your whaler alone who goes down to the sea in ships. Other mariners hurry across it. He alone does business upon the great waters, and more emphatically than any other seafarers, makes the ocean his home. With his topsail yard sharp up and his helm 4 spokes alee, he rides out the storm month in and month out, nestling like a seabird in the trough, and feeling himself, as it were, in harbor, while other ships rise on the horizon and scud by, and lessen and reel out of sight with blind celerity on their respective courses. A trip to Europe may serve to introduce the novice to the blue deity, but for a thorough acquaintance commend me to the long familiar intercourse of a whaling voyage. So I read that in that voice in my brain, and I thought to myself, that sounds like Captain Ahab from Moby Dick, Herman Melville's book. And so I came home and I did some research, and I discovered something. This is a fun part of book selling, by the way, is the research. It's like history detective type stuff. Well, the name of the author in reality is Horatio Hastings Weld. And I was able to ID this as source material for Moby Dick in the book The Essex and the Whale by R.D. Madison in 2016. He wrote that book, and in it he refers specifically to this book on page 225 and 226, and he makes the case that the book was influential on Herman Melville in writing Moby Dick. All that stuff went through my brain while it literally did, and it was really gratifying to find out that indeed the book is what I thought it was. The corners are bumped and rubbed through on both sets of corners. The heel of the spine is chipped. The head of the spine is chipped slightly. The gilt on the spine is pretty bright, not too bad. You've got some scuff marks on both boards, on the face of both boards. You've got some foxing and some staining throughout the text. It's light foxing, light staining. It's not in great condition. There are other books. There are 2 other copies for sale that I've been able to find online. One copy on abebooks.com is listed for $150, and yet it's tape repaired, and not only is it tape repaired, it's missing 8 pages of text. So here you have a book that's missing 8 pages of text, and a tape repair is actually not good because there's acid in tape. And tape, when you put it on a book, is going to brown everything that it touches over time. The more years pass with that tape repair, the more the acid will affect the pages of the book, and it's going to end up browning everything that it touches. It'll wreck the book. So it's a negative thing when you have a tape repair. Do not tape repair your pages. Do not tape repair your book. Don't do it. You'll destroy the value of it. So that one's worth $150. The dealer on Abe is calling it fair condition, when really it ought to be listed as poor condition. There's another dealer on eBay that has a slightly better copy. Everything is there in the copy on eBay. However, the copy on eBay is an ex-library copy. And what that means is that the book came out of a library. Now, libraries, when they get a book, they like to desecrate the book. What they like to do is they like to slap some ink stamps in the book to let you know that it's from the library. They'll take a pocket and they'll take glue and they'll smack it right on the front free end paper or on the back paste down, something like that. And then they'll, maybe if they didn't put enough ink stamps in, they'll put ink stamps throughout the book. And what they'll do is they'll put a shelf label on the spine. All of it's meant so that the book can be used and returned. I understand why librarians destroy books, but from a collectability standpoint, an ex-library copy, many book dealers will not even sell them. They won't buy them from people, and a lot of collectors won't buy them unless they are planning on just using it for reading and not actually collecting. So this copy is the best copy that's available on the market. Not only is it the best copy that's available on the market, but it comes with some bonuses in the back of the book. It looks like there might have been some additional blank pages added by the previous owner. And what they did, if not, it's just the end matter of the book, but you can see what they did. You have a red rose here on the left, and on the right, a bluebell flower. These are probably from that time period, contemporary with the printing of the book, so from the 1840s. This is actually not a negative thing. This is very much a positive thing. What this does is it shows us what people in the 1840s cared about. What they cared about, and it's true, they were very interested at that time in botany, natural history in general, but specifically botany. And someone took some time here and really spent some time, looks like with watercolor of some type, or who knows, maybe looking at the ink or the color, this might be even color that was handmade, that they made this at home. These are not the only drawings. There's one more here. We don't know what that is, just as pink, but some other type of wildflower or something like that. So this actually would add value to the book. In spite of that, I like to try to sell stuff pretty quickly online, and the one way that I do that is by just being competitive in my pricing. And so even though this is already a better copy than the eBay copy, and even though it contains these 3 what you would call folk art examples nestled within the pages of the book, I'm going to figure that the book, I'm going to price it at $450. $450, the same price as the eBay copy, even though it's in better condition and it has the folk art examples. That should move the book pretty quickly. I shouldn't hold on to it very long with those added benefits or whatever to the book. The condition is better, and we have some examples of contemporary folk art from that time nestled in its pages. So having said all that, I'm going to price it at about $450 unless I decide to go higher. $450 would be my bottom end, because the book was influential on one of the greatest works of American literature, Moby Dick, by Herman Melville. And actually in 1842, Herman Melville, when this book was printed, Herman Melville was on a whaling ship while this book was being printed in Boston. He was sailing the seas on a whaling ship. So very interesting, important book. We can prove that it had influence on Herman Melville, Moby Dick. It's a first edition. It's in better condition than the others that are out there. That's the exciting part of being a bookseller, is doing all that research and figuring those things out. And what you learn, one thing I hope you get by this, is that you learn that in order to do anything in the area of collectibles, whether you're talking about books, whether you're talking about paper collectibles, stamps, things like that, whatever you're talking about, you need to know more than the people that are selling it if you want to really do well at going out and doing what we call book scouting, or going out and cherry picking book sales and things like that. You have to know more. I've been doing this for 25 years. In 25 years, I've learned a lot about condition, edition. I've learned a lot about what people want to buy. And so in 25 years of researching that stuff, I'm able to go into a bookstore, an antique mall, into an estate sale, and really, what I call it, I can do some damage. But it's because I've taken the time and spent years becoming an expert in these things. You need to do the same thing, whatever it is that you're interested in. When I had the brick and mortar store, I didn't try to rip people off like that. If they came in, I would do the research. If they had something that I knew was rare, I would offer them either a percentage of the retail, anywhere between 25 and 50% of retail, or I would offer terms of consignment, where they could consign the item, and we would sell it for them and give them most of the money and keep a small percentage. And so I always try to be fair, but when it comes to what's happening out there in bookstores and antique malls, they have the internet. They can do the same research that I do. And if they don't do it in this day and age, they really can't expect to avoid this sort of situation from happening, where you walk in and pay $6 and find out that you have a $450 item. All right, guys, that is it. johnspeedbooks.com. Thanks for watching this. It's a little long. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. We're going to do more videos like this.